Whose purpose are you? We said that you exist for a purpose. Whose purpose? Did you ever think of that one? Whose purpose are you? You have purpose because all aspects of consciousness are connected to one another. None exist outside the system, they are all parts of the whole. That is the purpose we want you to seek. The essence of the vehicle you occupy and the energy you generate are part of a developmental sequence that you can say has a purpose for your personal search in life. But what purpose do you add to the whole? Can you conceive of someone else using your purpose and growing from it? An energy that you do not know exists? This universe is interlocked in such a way that it is based on the domino system. All aspects of consciousness have gathered in this universe to affect each other because that is the only way consciousness in this particular system can experience itself. In another system or another universal structure, each and every type of consciousness may be completely free. In other words, you could be on your own and serve no purpose to anyone else. That is not true in this universe. There are many different universes and themes. Just like 100 pennies make a dollar, certain collections of universes make something that is a collection of energies. Eventually, you will begin to fathom and recognize that there are whole systems of existence that have nothing to do with existence as you are working with it. This system is designed as a free will zone, within which everything is interlocking and interworking with everything else. There are other kinds of zones, which perhaps you could also call free will zones, where everything is independent of everything else. Here on Earth, everything is interlocked with everything else. There is much more space in a system in which everything is independent. Or, let us say, there is much more awareness of space, not necessarily space. That kind of universe could in actuality be much smaller than this universe, but because it is not operating out of density, the awareness of space could be greater. Your purpose is to carry information and, by carrying it, to make the information accessible to others by frequency. When we share a story with you, you end up carrying information. Information is light, light is information. The more you become informed, the more you alter your frequency. You are electromagnetic creatures, and everything that you are, you broadcast to everyone else. Just as you can recognize someone in fear, you can recognize someone in joy if you begin to learn how to use your body to tune into this kind of recognition. Your assignment is to carry information and to evolve yourself to the highest capacity within the human form. When you do this, you cannot help but affect multitudes. You may feel that your particular occupation is not on a grand scale, say, for instance, you are a waitress. Remember, things are not what they appear to be on the outside, and everyone you come in contact with is affected by your vibration. Some of you may be left in very menial or mundane jobs for a while, or you may be led simply to be parents and guardians of your children, or you may do work that you feel is not exactly on the road to high glory. Yet you will have a certain time period in which you must assimilate all of this information that is indeed radical. You must fit it into your life, and you must fit it into the history of your world by living it, perceiving it, and getting used to it. Once you can consistently maintain a frequency of information and not be riding the roller coaster of emotions up and down because you don't know who you are, you will be given a task. It will be put before you, and it will be part of your blueprint. Your blueprint is your own personal detailed plan or outline of action for this lifetime. Many of you already know your blueprint and what you will be guided to. Each of you knows your plan in the deepest portion of your being. What gets in the way of your knowledge is logically thinking that you don't have the talent for your plan or that you can't do it. If you go into a meditative state, you will receive a picture of your identity and reality and the next step of your assignment day by day. Meditation is a state of communication. It is not a way to go somewhere to get lost. Meditation is a way to get informed and to go to a place that nourishes you. You will move into your purpose and, more than likely, it will have to do with facilitating the frequency, transducing it, stepping it down to others, explaining it, using it to heal others, and stabilizing it for the human race. When each of you can hold a frequency of information without freaking out and can be counted upon to be consistent, then you anchor the frequency on the planet. That frequency is recognized. It cannot be traced, exactly, but it can be recognized, and it is being recognized now. That is why there has been a frenzied step up to alter that frequency. You will see more frequency control everywhere you look, only now you will be able to recognize it for what it is. You will find that all the things in your life have prepared you step by step for what you will be doing. At one time, perhaps, you were a Boy Scout leader and learned how to work with young boys. Maybe at another time you worked in a restaurant and learned how to work with food and to serve. Through your jobs, you created certain aspects a reality so that later on, when you must teach these systems how to go beyond themselves, you have an idea where these humans are coming from. We speak to you as if you are not human because, to us, you are not. To us, you are members of the family of light, and we know your multidimensional selves. We speak to you about dealing with humans because it is your assignment to integrate with them, soothe them, and awaken a spark of light within them so that they are not all destroyed and so that this place can house a new species in a new realm of activity. We have talked many times about the evolving DNA and the frequency modulation that has kept the species and the experiment controllable and manageable. You have been hired and are on assignment from the future to catapult back into this cycle of existence to incarnate many times so that you can understand what has kept humans controlled. In this way, you can operate from the inside and change the system. When you are in a battle with your logical mind, you are experiencing a conflict between the portion of yourself that is human, which has bought the story, and a portion of yourself that is family of light, which has not bought the story and is learning about the bigger picture. Begin to realize that the portion of yourself that operates out of logic is teaching you something. It is giving you first-hand experience of how most of the population operates and first-hand knowledge of what you are going to have to work around to reach others. If it were quite easy for you to move into intuition and operate there completely out of trust, and if you did not have this duality of understanding with the logical mind, in the long run you would become very impatient with the rest of humanity. If it were easy for you, how could you possibly understand how difficult it is for others? Humans have been controlled by frequency for a long time. They are so used to this frequency control and the logical mind has been so overly developed in recent times that there is much suspicion and fear, a dark place of self that is so controlled that people are frightened to even go into it and trust that they could possibly receive information on their own. When you think of the entities who have modulated the way humans broadcast themselves by rearranging their DNA and instituting various scenarios and events upon this planet, and then tunneling the results of this psychic energy through different portals out into space for their own reasons, you can see what you are battling. There are those who want you and the whole planet to function in no other way but through logic, a very fearful logic. The best advice we can offer you at this time is to use that logic. Say, I will be in logic here for a moment and see what my logical mind is doing. It is wanting to take over. It has been told that this is how it is. I have also been told that this other stuff is true too. I will simply observe how I waver between one and the other. Am I angry? Am I insecure? What brings me upliftment? What brings me security? What does each mode of thinking do for me? What am I perceiving about myself? How am I feeling? Observe and acknowledge all of this. Then say, now that I've given everyone a chance to be on stage, what do I want? Reaffirm what you want, and you know you want to evolve. Do you see how cycling back through doubt is in actuality part of the divine plan? It is part of understanding what others who will be following in your footsteps will go through. You must learn to open your compassion center or heart center, which is probably one of the most difficult things to do. Learn to feel compassion for yourself and for everyone else, as you all have the courage to let go and feel. It is very important to observe how you deal with events. Different events are brought to you so that you can observe them. Learn to observe your behavior and to spend much more time alone even if sometimes it is difficult for you and you feel lonely. In the long run, you will thank us for directing you to have a more meaningful encounter with yourself. You hold the richness and ripeness that can bring you into higher realization. There is an order that you operate within that part of yourself cannot see. Sometimes when part of yourself is operating without vision or seeing, events occur to get you back on track. Be aware that, in this new chaos of consciousness and confusion and shifting of uncertainty, there is a divine order. This could be compared to baking a cake. Each ingredient in the recipe is of itself an integral whole and has its own sense of structure: the eggs, the flour, the butter, the sugar. When you begin to put them all together, it looks as if you are making chaos. Someone could say, "You are wrecking everything. You wrecked that egg. Where did the sugar go? You are wrecking all of the essential elements here." They don't understand, perhaps, the magic of the catalytic formula of heat. There is a catalytic energy present at this time on the planet as all of the individual structures begin to melt and merge to create what looks like chaos. There will be something new born out of this, just like a cake is born out of the chaos of mixing together certain ingredients. Someone who does not understand that after you mix cake batter, you put it in the oven to bake it, could look at the goopy batter and think they made nothing. Many people on the planet will not recognize that there is a higher order behind the chaos, that there is a recipe being followed. Each of you has a specific assignment within this recipe. Of course, you have free will to determine how you will follow the recipe and be an ingredient of it. This free will allows you to decide the specifics of how you would like your life to be designed, although you must live out your blueprint. Whether you choose to do this with difficulty or with ease, in poverty or in richness, is up to you. It all depends on where you have been convinced to put your boundaries. What can we say to convince you to take all of your boundaries down, to stop limiting what you believe can be yours? If there is anything we wish to achieve, it is to have each of you boundless and free, knowing that every thought you entertain somehow determines your experience. If we could get you to live 100% of the time according to what you want, we would feel that this has been a most successful year. We are going to ask each of you to make that commitment and to live a cleaner and more impeccable life. We ask you to accept responsibility in areas that you have not even thought of accepting responsibility. We want you each to act as if you know what is going on. Act as if you are divinely guided in every choice you make, and begin to believe that you are always at the right place at the right time. Say to yourself, "I am in divine guidance. I am always in the right place at the right time. Everything I do is orchestrated for my higher growth, my higher consciousness, and my higher evolution." We want you to operate in that way all of the time now. Be living keepers of frequency. When light is brought into your body, it fires your light-encoded filaments and helps rebundle the DNA, creating a frequency change. Frequency is what you know. Frequency is your identity. There have been periods when many different dimensions have existed upon this planet at the same time. In the last 1,000 years, there has been a receding of the many different dimensions as great chaos and darkness have come over the population. These dimensions or other realities or places where the laws of existence are a bit different are returning. You help them return by pulling the dimensions onto this planet and creating what is called a dimensional merge. Sometimes you move into these dimensions and do not recognize that you are in them. You enter an altered state, particularly when you go to a sacred site on Earth. You move into a different dimensional frequency and everything changes. You feel uplifted and full of energy, or sick to your stomach. Something goes in when you move into an altered state. Since you are in the altered state, you do not always know you are in it. That is the beginning of the dimensional merge. When you return home from a sacred site, you may look back and say, "Wow, what happened there?" That is the feeling of experiencing different dimensions. Dimensional collisions are another story. Those who are gripped with fear and refuse to change, even though their purpose is to be on the planet at this time to change, will experience the dimensions as collisions. The dimensional merge for them will be like a solid wall of cement hitting another solid wall of cement. Great discomfort will occur on this planet for many. This is already occurring on a very small scale as discomfort in the nervous system. People may develop disease of the nervous system simply because of their refusal to evolve and change their stand about themselves and their reality. All of you who are working with other humans, whether you are medical people, body workers, teachers, musicians, or whatever, understand that this is the human dilemma, the need to drift the definition of self and reality. Use your will and mind to decide how you would like reality to construct itself. By doing this, you will eventually discover that there is a higher will and a higher plan, and you will ride your consciousness to it and discover the divine path. This divine path has in mind the evolution of consciousness. You, as a human species, have believed for eons what others have told you about yourselves. As we have said, there has been a purpose to this. Others have wanted to control you. Strive as you would for attainment, it was difficult on the planet because the DNA was scattered and closed down, so no matter what you wanted, the vibrational connections were not available. Now that the vibrational connections are coming onto the planet, the divine plan, which you can think of as a grid or blueprint, is coming closer to Earth, and the dimensions are going to meet eventually. When they are going to meet is up to you. The divine plan is not scheduled to come here on a specific date, it depends on how quickly humans can meet the needs and master themselves. What does it mean to master yourself? In order to understand the divine plan and move into the blueprint, you must look at yourself. You must be able to master who you are. There are many things in your society for which you must master a test in order to say, yes, I qualify. I have mastered these rules, and I utilize them and put them to my will. For example, you must master how to drive a car to get a license. How many of you can master your bodies and use them with your will? Very few. Why? Because no one told you it was possible. We are here to remind you of a number of things. Earth at this time is a very difficult place to be, simply because those who are coded to bring the changes onto the planet are coded to teach themselves. You see, the problem on this planet, over and over again, has been the gods. One god after another. Who have the gods been? The gods created you. You are their project. You are dear to them. However, some of them you are not very dear to because they do not understand emotion and feelings. And some of them are enamored of different realities than you are. Consciousness is allowed its expression, and you have been allowed your expression within limitation by those who have been governing you. From your point of view, you have never let them govern you and you have no idea that they exist. They bring dramas onto this planet in the guise of what you call religion, leadership, or, sometimes, inspiration. Events, even though they are orchestrated to achieve certain things, sometimes gather those who hang on, and many other probabilities come out other than what was intended. We want to communicate to you that there is a drastic change going on. We cannot emphasize this enough. Earth is in for a big shake-up. The shake-up involves humanity processing and conceiving of data that is totally out of the current paradigm. This means that your nervous system will be assaulted with data and must be able to unlock itself from how it believes it controls or perceives reality. The task for you members of the family of light who have desired to take this information inside of yourselves is to anchor a new frequency on the planet by anchoring it impeccably inside yourselves. This is not easy. It was not meant to be easy. You did not come here to have an easy assignment. You are renegades, and you have been renegades. If we could give each of you a minute's worth of your multidimensional memories, you would know what we are talking about. You would know in the deepest portion of your being that time and time again, in different guises and different collections of form, you have gone where change needed to be anchored. You have gone many times, busted the paradigms, liberated yourselves, and moved beyond where you thought your identity was. This is the divine plan, merging the self. The divine plan has many ramifications and brings together many kinds of forces. You have heard us talk about the forces of light and the forces of darkness. We have nicknamed them the white t-shirts and the dark t-shirts to make the situation neutral and have you know it is a game. We also want you to know that there is a grave seriousness to the game and that in and around and above the game is the divine plan. The divine plan can be anchored as a vibration into certain human bodies that are coded for this and that came here to carry this frequency. Then you can rise to your own blueprint of impeccability. When your own life rises to a position where you do not even recognize it as your life, you allow the energy of the non-physical realms to use you as a conduit, to merge the dimensions and liberate consciousness into a new way of perceiving. Even though there is death and destruction coming to your world, remember that death and destruction come in the autumn every year on this planet. The flowers and leaves on the trees are killed by the frost, things wither and die. Perhaps someone who lives where it is always summer would be very disturbed when they saw autumn for the first time. They would think, goodness, the world is being destroyed here. All the beauty is being taken away. Understand that this is what is going on with Earth. It is a season when some things will die so that many new things can be born. It is all part of the divine plan.